thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. That's right. It is Monday, the most important day of the week, November 25th, and it is Thankful Week, you guys. Today is National Play with Dad Day, Rico.
Aw.
We got some other dads on here, too. Oh, Jesse.
It's also National Parfait Day.
That's your favorite, right,
Okay.
Jason?
It's also a Shopping Reminder Day, and since it's Shopping Reminder Day, it's also Blasé Day, you guys. I didn't even realize that Blasé had a day. So we're waiting on
every day is blasé.
Yeah, I guess Yarrow's feeling blasé because he's not here yet, but he should be joining us anytime. Anyways, thank you all for joining us and
real dads are in the.
Oh, what's that, Rico?
I say he's mad because the real dads are in the building.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So thank you all for joining us, no matter what platform you are joining us on. And kicking it off first, that's right, we have the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte, the man in all black with a tan cap. That's right, it is the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte. Oh shit, sorry. There we go. There we go. I got you, bro. Sorry. Get into the habit, bro. New habits.
Excuses, Jason Beck.
New habits.
Giving me
Easy
the clap?
there. Easy there, Jenny. Easy there. She's ferocious today. Today, you guys.
I don't know what's going on with my color, but I'll just leave it at it is. This is a navy.
It's
blue.
navy blue.
What are you trying to say? You're gray today or something?
No, you said that it was black. You know what I'm saying? Like we're going with the one drop rule today.
Looks
Jason's
black
colorblind.
to me. Looks black to me.
Jason's colorblind.
I am not colorblind.
All good.
Definitely
All
not.
good, man.
It's blue, Rico. You're wearing blue.
On the screen, I see it blue, but on the monitor, I see it as black.
I won't even make that joke because I don't want to offend the other conservatives in the room. I'll keep that one to myself. All right. So, anyways, shout out to the parents today. There's a study that was done by UT Health Houston, published in Social Science and Medicine, that found that alcohol use is the strongest predictor of escalating cannabis vaping among youths and young adults in Texas, regardless of demographic factors. In an effort to identify behavioral predictors of cannabis vaping, the university researchers surveyed middle and high school students across major Texas cities from 2019 to 2021. The study revealed that cannabis vaping, which has significantly increased in popularity from 10% to 75% of cannabis users in a decade, poses public health risks such as cognitive impairment, lung damage from black market THC products, increased dependence, and legal consequences. The key findings of the study included alcohol surprisingly acted as a gateway substance, consistently linked to cannabis vaping initiation. Depression was a predictor of initiation among Hispanic and non-Hispanic Black groups, and non-Hispanic Black students had a higher likelihood of transitioning from non-use to current cannabis vaping. Dale Monte, PhD, assistant professor of health promotion and behavioral sciences at UT Health Houston School of Public Health, led the study and recommends comprehensive prevention strategies that address alcohol, nicotine, and cannabis use together, especially targeting at-risk youth groups to delay substance initiation and reduce addiction rates. He also said that further research on the role of mental health in cannabis vaping is also needed, obviously. Okay, so there is a lot to unpack here, and I try to be as concise with this one as possible, and I will keep my my response to everything very, very short. So number one, Texas is a prohibition state. So while I agree with some of the data produced by the study, like alcohol being a gateway drug and not the other way around, I think that's huge. I do think that the overall results should be seen through a lens specifically focused on Texas youth and not necessarily young people everywhere. I'm not sure how things went down in more liberal states, but growing up in Virginia, I was introduced to my stepfather's liquor cabinet and friends with access to they folks' moonshine stashes way before things escalated into smoking dirt weed out of soda cans and homemade 2-liter 7-Up bottle bongs. We have to take into account that, number two, we have to take into account that this is all happening in the middle of a nationwide movement towards state-driven decriminalization and legalization efforts. Since 2018 Farm Bill passed, the legal and illegal weed landscape has changed drastically, and having visited Texas many times since then, I would argue that kids in the Lone Star State might be vaping weed, but they also might be smoking on Delta 8, which is legal for them to buy at any gas station convenience store. I like to see what controls were used in this study to ensure that all these self-snitching kids, that all these self-snitching kids were actually smoking weed and not just these derivatives or mislabeled hemp shit. And three, I do applaud UT Houston for having the balls to publish this shit. Calling alcohol a gateway drug to weed in Texas is a pretty big deal. I'd love to see what the data looks like going back into Texas youth with more controls in place to make sure that the results are accurate and the ability to compare and contrast with other states, both prohibitive and liberal. We all have our own first conception stories, and I'd assume the majority of us that have those went down when weed was still illegal in whatever state that we were in. Vapes were not a thing when I was in middle or high school, neither was Delta 8. But those of us that are parents do have to deal with that as today's reality. So I'm not saying that I would take any study findings as law when deciding how I want to raise my own children, but at least for me, the more information, the better. So I can at least be aware of what potential risks and situations are going on out there. I'm really interested in hearing what everybody else has to say on this one, especially the parents. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News.
Interesting, Rico. So they're trying to make vaping the scapegoat again.
No.
You sure?
They actually, not at all. They actually said
they're making alcohol the scapegoat, Jason.
Yeah, that's crazy. I thought this was fantastic. That's the first time I've ever heard any of these studies say that alcohol was the gateway drug into cannabis vaping. What do you think about that, Jenny Beth?
I mean, I was at a bar yesterday for football. I saw a lot of people drinking alcohol, and I saw a lot of people vaping. So, I mean, I could see the correlation.
She was one of those people drinking alcohol, if you looked at her story.
I had a good old time.
Yeah.
I had a good time.
She was turned all the way up.
I like that song. Shout out to Shabuzi.
So as a parent, the parents, well, what do you guys think about this this study? I think this is a lot more based in reality than I would have expected a Texas study, or at least in my eyes.
Well, that's probably because it came out of Texas.
I definitely smoked weed before I drank, but I was the exception to the rule. You know, like, I agree with you. I grew up in the South in a very small town where there wasn't a lot to do on Friday night after the football game's over. So we definitely somebody may or may not have poured some water in that vodka bottle and done a little switch out for the party. But, there was definitely a lot of drinking going on. I definitely don't remember as much weed early on.
Well, at the same time, too, Jenny, down the south, there wasn't really a lot of weed. There's a lot of bammer and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But like, not a lot of weed. Jason.
There was plenty of weed, Jason.
I don't know.
You just had to not be scared to go to the PJs and get it from the big dude and go flip it at your high school. Wait, am I talking? Never mind.
Big Daddy. Gonna go get it from Big Daddy in the trailer park.
Shout out to Joe Mackey with a big old super chat who says alcohol is the devil. Man, much love. Yes.
I have.
Sorry, Jesse.
What's that?
Sorry, Jesse. I had to give a little clap for that. But go ahead, please.
You definitely should do the super chat first. Always. I have 7 teenagers. One of them's 11, so technically 6. But the gateway drug that I see in the world is Snapchat.
Oh,
yeah.
These kids are getting on Snapchat and getting access to any vape, any drug, any amount of alcohol, even prostitution and various other things through Snapchat. And it's the first thing that they're getting dopamine. A lot of these kids have been on Snapchat since they were 6 years old, and they're getting serious drug things happening in their brains through Snapchat. And then it just continues into this. I really think that there's a big miss in our society as far as studying that as a drug first before even alcohol or any of the rest. But I do like that. They're calling out alcohol as the gateway drug. I think most people anecdotally who've been around cocaine at all, they see that alcohol and cocaine go hand in hand every time. I've never seen someone do cocaine without alcohol. And most people who drink a lot also do cocaine. So
I've seen it once, and it was fucking weird, Jesse. It was
right. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if you're doing cocaine without alcohol, isn't that just considered crack?
No.
You gotta do a couple other things to crack.
Yeah, it's gonna be an aggressive ass situation. You know what I'm saying?
It's very not demure. Very not going to sleep anytime soon. Very not. I mean, like, listen, I don't even hang out with people who do cocaine because if you notice, those friend circles are the ones where there's always drama, there's always bullshit. Like, I used to travel a lot for Widespread Panic and like dead shows and stuff. I won't share fucking hotel suites. I won't share Airbnbs with the couples who are coked up because by day 2 they are fighting at 3 o'clock in the fucking morning, and I just want to go night night. So I think like that's a whole nother level of ick for me.
What do you have to say? You want to pick Yarrow up off the shelf and pull his string, Jenny?
Yeah, Yarrow, what do you think about this study?
You haven't look. Is he having a? He's having a Mitch McConnell right now.
Maybe he's glitching out.
Yeah,
Yarrow.
Yarrow, are you with us, Yarrow? Yarrow.
He went Joe Biden on us. He's just staring off into space.
Yeah, off in the abyss. Oh, wow.
Is he more Joe Biden or is he more Mitch McConnell this morning?
I'd say more Mitch McConnell. Look at the hair.
Is there a difference?
Look at the hair.
Oh, you've never seen them in the same room, have you? I never thought about that.
Oh God, stop
shit.
it! I have seen them in the same room together. Once, maybe twice.
Oh, we've lost him. He's
yeah. Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
It's here. Yeah. No, but I think it's very interesting what you had to say there, Jesse, about Snapchat. All this shit that we hear in mainstream news about TikTok, about IG, I totally forgot Snapchat even resisted outside the drug realm for adults.
Oh, it's still the #1 app for teenagers.
Well, you know,
every one of my. Yeah, they all, especially as they get older, when they start to want to get access to devices and want to throw parties and, 16, 17, 18, Snapchat becomes the thing because of the disappearing messages.
Well,
listen here, Parker Long, if you're out there listening to this show ever, just know I've done all this shit before you. I'll do it all after you, and I'm going to catch you, so don't try me.
Here's the thing is do you remember? I remember we covered a story of the guy that was trying to sue Stizzy because he had bought the vape carts off of Snapchat.
Yeah, he said he got bootleg Stizzy vapes off of Snapchat, so it's Stizzy's fault.
Yeah.
That they were even out. Get the fuck out of here, bro.
Yeah, get the hell. Jesus Christ.
To mention, he was 16, stole his dad's truck, went to the airport, tried to convince them that he was a famous rapper and boarded an airplane. Like, this kid has bigger problems than Snapchat and Stizzy vapes.
Jesse, how do you even attempt to control that? I mean, if they're on social media, they're on Snapchat, you know there's a problem. I mean, do you just blanket ban this? Do you have like a sit down with them? Like, what do you? What kind of actions do you take?
I'm pretty hardcore as a parent with that stuff, so I take their phones and completely limit them and put them under parental controls until they're 18. So they don't really have access to that. I found out about this because
unless your kid's a hacker.
Yeah, that would suck. But I found out about this because I have a blended family. Not all 7 teenagers are mine biologically. So one of them in particular had control of her phone when we moved in together, and it was immediately a nightmare of a problem. And still is, because she was the one we were never able to really get it under control. She was always sneaking it around and using Snapchat as access, because she can find neighborhood kids that she doesn't even know on the Snap map, and they share things, and it's just trippy.
Which is terrifying, because guess who else is looking at the Snap maps of your kids? It shows you exactly where the users are, whether you're friends with them or not. So it'll show users in your area, but that sounds like a great tool if I'm a creepy adult trying to find kids. So like this,
that's happening too. That's happening too. Yeah, it's all that, and we're off the trail of the story really, but I do wish that they would study this as well as alcohol, because social media is a drug.
Well, I think it does relate. Yeah,
there's a class action lawsuit right now against, I believe it's Meta and all this stuff. If your child has been affected by their social media use, there's some kind of class action they're doing. So I'm assuming there'd have to be some kind of research behind that for them to push it through.
Okay.
There is tons of research behind it. It's a known fact that social media and phones in general are literally designed to mess with your dopaminergic system. Period. It's been established as fact. We know it's true. It's just put under it's swept under the rug. And because we use these apps and we find them useful, so we kind of excuse that away.
And we're going to go to a commercial break. I'm going to try something. Tell me if this works, you guys.
This plan would make marijuana legal, but would not remove all of the consequences. Explain that for us.
Why are they busting in my door after midnight over something that Illinois says is legal?
Right. We've run into so much cannabis. We've run out of places to put it.
Things are legalized, but it's not legalized completely.
My mini doc on legalization policy in Illinois is available for free streaming now at colememo.com/minidoc.
Like, what's alcohol and weed together?
Yep, exactly. We are back, y'all. You good, Jason? Jason looking lost.
Yeah, Adam, it went.
1 2 1 2.
Oh, there we go. We can hear you now. We can hear the Shire. Yeah, we can hear the Shire. Jenny, get his cord unstuck. Adam, this teleprompter, it reverted back to like the main screen and not the teleprompter screen. I don't know how to get it back up. Yeah.
You want to skip you for now, Jason?
Yeah, let's get me from now. Let's roll right into Mr. Jesse Barney. Please introduce Jesse Barney, Rico.
All right, man. I never thought I'd say the day that one of Donald Trump's acolytes was not comfortable without the teleprompter. But either way,
well, we're trying something new. We're trying to make this thing work over here, bro.
I can dig it. Okay, it's just a joke, Jason. Come on, man.
Progress, Rico.
Yeah. We're working.
Unbunch the panties there, brother.
Stop it.
You're gonna make him upsetted. Yeah. You don't like him when he's upsetted.
You don't want to see me upsetted.
We kind of do.
Up next is my. I don't even want to rank the JBs. I know you guys are so sensitive with that shit, but it's another JB. You guys should rank them. Maybe that's what we should do today. Is put
I can be number 3. I got no problem. Being number 3 for JB. It's all good. In fact, that sounds cool. Number 3 JB.
Oh boy.
Who's number 2? Ooh, who's number?
That they can fight over.
If we're going alphabetically, my first and middle name are JB, so it would be me, and then Jason Beck would go after that because he has an R in the middle.
Jason Beck is never second. Jason Beck is only first. Only first. We only deal with ones around here.
But you are the shit, though, right?
You're number two, Jason.
We only deal with number ones around here, and that even goes, and that's why I only date tens, Jenny Beth, because those are ones plus a zero.
I've met your exes.
All right, so up next we have a dope Faja 7 times over. He is a digital media expert and one of the most creative cats in the cannabis industry. Here to break us off with our second story of the day, while Jason gets his teleprompter game up like Donald Trump. Jesse Barney.
Yay! Thanks, Rico.
Yay.
Oh shit! Sorry. I'm telling you, bro. I'm trying to figure out get my teleprompter fucking working again, bro.
It's like Jesse that JB number one would never. I will make sure that you always have your plus.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. So there you go. That's how you win.
You know how to win. You know how to win over the audience without the teleprompter, Jason. You just got to start. Just doing like some crazy motions with the neck towards the microphone. That's how Donald Trump won.
With the neck. Here we go.
All right. Well, my story comes out of salon.com this morning, and the headline is Republicans and RFK Jr. have embraced psychedelics. I love the language in this article. It's so great. When conspiracy theorist Robert F. Kennedy Jr. took to the social media site X last month to threaten the Food and Drug Administration, he included a laundry list of items that he wants to deregulate if elected to a health leadership position under the incoming Trump administration. For the most part, all of the items Kennedy listed, including clean foods, raw milk, and stem cells, seem to fall in line with his campaign to prioritize personal choice and new age or experimental medicines while upending regulatory bodies like the FDA. Go, Kennedy, go. But Kennedy also listed psychedelic drugs, which are banned in most parts of the world, as something under the FDA's aggressive suppression, which may come as a surprise to those who associate psychedelics with flower children of the 1960s and not the far-right libertarian crown that Kennedy has historically drawn. Yeah, those are the people he's always drawn. As one supporter commented on his post, I disagree on the psychedelics, which are horrible, but on everything else, yes. Yet Kennedy is just one of several prominent Republican politicians to recently endorse psychedelics. In 2023, former Texas Governor Rick Perry, who served as the U.S. Secretary of Energy under the last Trump administration, spoke at the annual Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, MAPS, conference after previously backing a Texas bill that would increase research investigating psilocybin for veterans. Psilocybin is the drug in, quote, magic, unquote, mushrooms, and has been shown to significantly improve depression symptoms for patients in clinical trials, and other studies are investigating its use in other conditions like obsessive compulsive disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, and substance use. Some of you are out there thinking, what in the hell is that dude doing on this stage, Perry said at the conference. Yet that same summer, Perry said federal psychedelics legalization was actually more supported by Republicans than Democrats. Now that Republicans control the Senate and Congress, and President-elect Donald Trump nominated Kennedy to lead the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, some are hopeful that the GOP can exercise its governing power to revive a psychedelic movement that has shown signs of losing steam. Yet others warn that right-wing leadership could fast-track psychedelics and prioritize the business side of the industry, dun dun dun, without ensuring equal priority to the integration part of the psychedelic experience that comes with additional mental health and societal supports. The Trump administration has signaled that it is going to be as radical as possible, said Brian Pace, a psychedelics researcher at Ohio State University. They see themselves as coming in and cleaning house and implementing change through executive directives, and I don't think that makes for careful medicine. Although it remains illegal on the federal level, psilocybin was legalized in Oregon and Colorado through ballot measures in recent years, and treatment centers are now being rolled out in these states. Many other cities have decriminalized psychedelics, citing their low risk for harm, especially compared to drugs like fentanyl and methamphetamine. With this momentum, many were hopeful that Lykos Therapeutics, formerly known as MAPS, would get FDA approval this summer when they submitted a new drug application for MDMA to treat PTSD. MDMA, sometimes called ecstasy, has been shown to significantly improve PTSD symptoms in clinical trials. However, the industry experienced serious setbacks after the FDA rejected MDMA therapy in August, citing concerns over the quality of the data submitted with the new drug application. Earlier this year, study participants came out to say that they'd felt pressured to report positive results. That sucks. And at least one patient came forward with sexual misconduct allegations. That extra sucks. Ultimately, some of the studies submitted in that new drug application were retracted by the journal that published them. Juliana Mercer, the director of veteran advocacy and public policy at Healing Breakthrough, which advocates for MDMA-assisted therapy for veterans, said the FDA's MDMA decision came as a gut punch to those working to increase the availability of psychedelics, and that long-standing stigma against controlled substances like MDMA are a barrier to getting them approved. In Massachusetts, a ballot measure to legalize psilocybin was also rejected this past election. I think there's still absolutely stigma attached to it, Mercer told Salon in a phone interview. There's still more work to be done in terms of correcting the information that was given to us through programs like the Just Say No campaign and the War on Drugs. That's an understatement. Although Kennedy will need to be confirmed by the Senate to secure a leadership role at the HHS, some believe his influence could lead to deregulation that could make psychedelics more widely available. With plans to bust the corrupt alliance between major pharmaceutical companies and the agencies that regulate them, while supporting transformative treatments such as psychedelic-assisted therapies, we expect RFK to usher in a new era of U.S. healthcare. Joe Caldabiano, the CEO of Healing Realty Trust, which is the psychedelic and cannabis industry, wrote in a statement. Jenny, you're on.
Oh, that's not me. That's Adam.
Or somebody's on.
Adam, your girlfriend.
Oh. Yet others emphasize that those regulatory frameworks are in place for safety reasons and that psychedelics need to be subject in this kind of scientific scrutiny. Some, including Dr. Nora Volkow, who helms the National Institute of Drug Abuse, have warned that the hype around psychedelics has outpaced the science. You have people saying psychedelics are going to cure the mental health crisis, and those are big statements, Pace told Solanin in a phone interview. Those are the kind of statements that certainly attract investors, and they certainly get donations to get a research study done. In addition to support from Republican conservatives in California, Texas, and Michigan, psychedelics have also garnered advocacy among Silicon Valley Republicans. Elon Musk, who Trump appointed to lead the new Department of Government Efficiency Agency, has said that he has a prescription for ketamine, a psychedelic-like anesthetic, and has discussed using other psychedelics. Earlier this month, psychedelic investor Christian Angermeyer said on X that many attendees at a psychedelics event in San Francisco were pro-Trump, some of them very openly, which would have been impossible a year ago. And Rebecca Mercer, who has been called one of the chief financiers of the fascist movement, donated $1 million to MAPS through the Mercer Family Foundation to fund psychedelic research for veterans. Although some have argued that psychedelics can turn people into progressives, change ideology, or fight fascism, these substances have a long history of use by people across party lines and tend to amplify existing ideologies rather than change them, Pace said. As psychedelics have hit the mainstream, it follows that they are being embraced by mainstream political parties in the U.S., he added. For those who think that psychedelics are going to revolutionize mental health, solve the mental health crisis, or introduce kinder, gentler capitalism, it's much more likely that the reverse is going to happen, Pace said. Psychedelics will be assimilated by the mental health system, for example, they will be applied through a conservative Christian lens rather than distorting it. Psychedelics have been described as having the power to deconstruct the mind, from which changes can be made in the process of integration that can significantly improve mental health. In Western culture, the reconstruction part of the process could be deprioritized in an attempt to find a quick fix to the mental health crisis. When the stakes are high, go slow, but in Silicon Valley, it's move fast and break things, Pace said. But in this case, we're talking about people, not things. Psychedelics may be another tool for tackling the mental health crisis, but they will be the most effective for communities that have social support in place to help them integrate the experience. I could not agree with that more, Pace said. It also seems counterintuitive for Republican leaders to try and solve the mental health crisis, which is known to be amplified by health disparities, discrimination, and social determinants of health like economic inequality, when many of those same leaders back legislation that puts more people at risk for these situations on the front end, he added. There's this idea that if you have a mental health problem, you take a pill, and then you have this individual solution for a problem that affects a lot of people, Pace said. There is this systemic side of how to address things like reducing the rates of PTSD by making sure that we have robust conversations about sexual assault prevention with men and boys and all kinds of things that are beyond the individual. But this can be a selling point for people. Now we have this treatment. You just pull yourself up by the bootstraps and get back in the saddle. And that's how that article ends. I think it is an interesting point that in our culture, we like convenience. We like things that are pills that just fix things really quick. We just want someone to come over and fix our plumbing or fix our dishwasher. We don't want to learn or do any of the integration work or figure out how to build something ourselves or any of that hard work. We steer away from it, and I think that is true with psychedelics. A lot of people just want to take a bunch of acid or take a bunch of psilocybin or take a bunch of MDMA and be cured, and that's just not how it works. It is literally the integration, the set and setting. It's all the work that you do after the revelations that psychedelics can bring. So this is Jesse Barney on High at 9. Happy to be here. I'm really excited to hear you guys talk about this.
This is super, super, super interesting, Jesse. And I agree with you. A lot of people don't want to do the work. They want to have the revelation and da-da-da-da, but don't want to do the work afterwards to really implement a lot of those changes in their life. They're just like, oh, yeah, this happened, and I'm going to do this and that. And then all of a sudden, it's like they forget it all happened, and they just go back to and revert back to their traditional normal ways and habits. And it's true, because old habits die hard. So, maybe they need to take a larger dose.
Yeah, like SA, because that is to me, that's a glaring fucking failure for that study. Like the fact that we have a doctor or someone who's interested in administering this type of drugs and understanding the situation they're putting people in and the risk they're putting people in and will take advantage of someone in that shape is like just a monumental failure to me. So that really sucks. Like, I don't know, but I guess we'll see. MAPS is really kind of needing a win here.
MAPS needs a win. What do you, Yarrow? Is your mic working? Are you back?
I am back.
Okay, look at that. Look at that, you guys. We got Yarrow.
Being silenced by the digital Illuminati, aka the app we use, and Fifth Restart was the fix.
Maybe you were having a psychedelic experience and you had to hit restart, like Jesse's story.
I was tripping. I think it's challenging for me because I'm bullish on this nascent niche, psychedelic treatments. We for a long time had an evangelical pundit here on High at 9 News who talked about the promising future and the chances that it could be a change agent for society more broadly, which gives me great pause to see somebody like Wormhole Kennedy affiliated with something that I think doesn't need any negative affiliations. I have a dim view of Kennedy in general and think that anybody who's willing to sell themselves to both the Harris presidency as well as the Trump presidency shows that they're more concerned about their position than they are about what they're passionate about, because he went to both before anybody won and said, who's got a job for me and how can I endorse you if you
that's not really how that worked, but that's
yeah, that is exactly how that worked.
Not buying that.
We can cover that on another show. You can buy it or not, but it's out there, and I invite our viewers to Google that because that's exactly what he did. He went to both of them and said, who will give me a job? And it was widely reported, Jason, in many media channels. So my concern is I think that Kennedy coming in isn't going to do this conversation a service. And I think that because he's been so polarizing and said some stuff that's just backwards and frankly scientifically inaccurate, my worry is that he could set this conversation back, not forward. The other thing that I think is, I think the Trump administration, in its choice of cabinet members or strategic positions, is doing a really, really good job of positioning itself as sort of maverick and shake things up, and things aren't going to be business as usual. And I really appreciate that. A good example of that is all of the drumbeat around tariffs and things like that, which I think at the end of the day, he's probably not going to do. And what he's really trying to do is prove that he's erratic and get other countries to come to the bargaining table. And that strategy may work, and it may actually be a benefit for this country. I don't know. But the idea that Kennedy could be a helpful influence changing our for-profit medical paradigm is a challenge for me, because I think that his most inspiring record is really around environmental pollution. And when I hear him speak, I think that his brain is environmentally polluted, because he seems like he's still a few marbles short of a full box.
Man, oh man. Well, I think Kennedy is the right man for the job. I mean, he is willing to fight for these things and really promoting these things on the national stage. So I'm wishing him all the best on this, and hope that ultimately he is successful with this venture, because I definitely am against pharmaceutical drugs and single compounds and whatnot. I'm all about the plant medicine in that respect.
He's going to move the needle. I don't think he's.
I think he will.
This is all just talking points. I don't think he's going to do anything in respects to plant medicine, whether it's cannabis or psychedelics. I think at the end of the day, this is all going to be for the headlines, and it's going to be, unfortunately, most likely business as usual. My concern for somebody who's running, or maybe you could call me a skeptic, but maybe I'm just a realist. I think
you're
at
a
the
hater.
end of the day, okay, sure. What I hate is people whose actions and rhetoric don't align. And my biggest concern is that we miss this opportunity to take that 20% of the gross domestic product that was part of healthcare and really strip away this notion that medicine needed to be for profit. We don't have cradle to grave healthcare. 1 out of X number of Americans go bankrupt by getting cancer. And there's this massive issue that needs to be fixed here in this country. I don't think a boy who grew up in the Kennedy elite, who lived in the most well-to-do family and who went to all of these very highfalutin Ivy League colleges, understands the demands and challenges of the common man and woman in this country. And I think if they were going to solve anything, first and foremost, it wouldn't be the shiny object of psychedelic medicine and the promise it might hold, but they would solve the burdensome cost of healthcare on the average W-2 worker. And I don't see him taking care of that. And to me, that's a more foundational issue in this country.
Well, you can be a naysayer all you want, because the proof is going to be in the pudding. And when Doge kicks in, Kennedy's going to be able to kick in even harder with all this stuff.
The only pudding is his brain.
Stop it. Stop the ridiculousness, Yarrow. Man.
I think there's one massive oversight in everything you're saying, Yarrow, and that is that this conversation on the national level and in the cultural level wouldn't be nearly where it is right now without Kennedy. And we're talking about the health crisis across the board in a light that I've been begging this nation to talk about and to address since I was a teenager. I've been into this stuff. So these topics that are coming into the national zeitgeist and people's minds, I've been trying to get this to happen literally almost my whole life. So So in that sense, you can say whatever you want about him personally and all these other things, but the truth is that he has brought these topics to the forefront in a way that has not happened during my lifetime, and it's one of the most exciting things ever. And psychedelics is just one small part of it. So I think in going to the political part, you're missing the fact that without him, this conversation wouldn't be happening at all.
In essence, he has gone into the light, Carol Ann.
No, listen, I think you make a really good point. If he amplifies a topic, and if that ultimately increases the chance of change, then it's a net benefit. And you and I will just have to take a pinky swear gentleman's bet that 6, 9, 18 months from now, we will reconvene and see whether all of that.
I will go further than that. I will go further than that.
Look at
I
this.
will be the first person, if there is not serious, radical movement and change in these areas that him and the administration that he's joined are promising, I will be the first person to say they are all now the biggest liars of all time, and that they duped literally 70% of the American people, and it was really brilliant. If it does happen, I'm looking for the other two from the other side. I'm looking for people to say, wow, things happened, we weren't right. If they do accomplish things, if psychedelics do have this amazing renaissance that comes on the coat heels of really this entire health conversation, if there's really change there, I really hope that all the people who are naysayers stop just being naysayers and actually see what's happening.
That part.
Yeah, you're going to have to say sorry, Yarrow.
Exactly. You're going to have to eat your words, Yarrow. You're going to have to be like Sonny on The View.
I'm willing to. I'm definitely willing to.
I'd be happy to eat my words, because I'd rather be wrong and see more positive benefit to all Americans than be right and come back and tell Jesse, I told you so. So at the end of the day, I'm definitely for change. I don't think this is the best ambassador, and I think they're playing to the headlines. And I hope I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
Because if I'm wrong,
you are.
Everybody wins. But if I'm right, this is not the first time where this Kennedy has come in and duped a lot of people into thinking he's the next version of hope and change, only to really be worm brain.
Well, Yarrow, if you're right, then it's just politics as usual. They're just all liars, and it's all bullshit anyways.
Exactly. Nothing new. Nothing normally terrible or.
Yeah.
Status quo. Well, let me tell you something. I have some good news, because we're approaching the holiday season, you guys, and there's lots of traveling going on. And so my story involves a travel update, and I think all the trappers.
Up next, we have the High at 9 head honcho, my short little bestie, Jason.
I'm
Beck.
not short. That's
You're
cute.
Not tall.
That's cute. That's cute. I'm taller than Yarrow.
I don't know about that. We have some pictures of you and I at the Yoko something ranch.
I'm definitely taller than Yarrow.
Yeah. And I'm thinking we were looking pretty much shoulder and shoulder, side by side.
Of course you would think that. Of course you would think that.
I mean, we look like twins, with me being the slightly more handsome one, but like we definitely look like we were separated at birth. Not like Siamese twins, but definitely twins.
That's cute.
Yarrow, if it makes you feel better, I'm 5'8.5", and Jason tries to tell me he's as tall as me too, which is not the case.
You guys are tripping.
So.
You guys are tripping, man. Well, I'm gonna go into my story with all your guys' little yappity yaps and whatnot, because the Justice Department stops DEA's airport searches after $3.2 billion seized from passengers without charges. You guys, that's right. The U.S. Department of Justice has ordered the DEA to cease searching passengers at airports following an Inspector General's investigation showing that the people doing these searches, which often led to confiscation of cash from travelers without any charges being filed, you guys, that's right, lacked proper training and kept insufficient documentation, leading to a likelihood of committing constitutional rights violations, you guys. The decision to stop a consensual encounter, they called it, airport searches and searches at other transit hubs was made a little over a week ago, but the report was only just released today. And this was a couple days ago. This was on Saturday, you guys. Highlighting a decade of abuses, including the strong suggestion that the DEA was performing these searches for the purpose of seizing funds for its own use in a 10-year period. The DEA seized over $4 billion in cash, the vast majority of which was unconnected to any criminal charge, you guys. Searches will now only be allowed if connected to an ongoing criminal investigation or approved under extingent circumstances by the DEA administrator. And they say, I've written about civil asset forfeiture at airports before and even served as an expert witness in a case against the practice. The DEA frequently targets minorities, so they've stopped tracking race, you guys. Police records, though, contain data showing 56% of jet bridge stops are of black passengers, while 68% are minorities. The government seizes cash without charging anyone with a crime, and then the victim has to prove the money wasn't used in a crime to get it back. There's a blazing time process for doing this, and usually the victim has to enter into a partial settlement to get anything back at all, which includes a promise not to sue. And the way this is all structured, the agency seizing the money gets to keep part of it for themselves. Depending on the agency, they get to keep all of it, but that all depends based off what jurisdiction seizes the money, but whatever. Even just flying to Atlanta, from Atlanta to Los Angeles, is enough for a stop and seizure because passengers are flying from one known drug location to another, and the government considers one-way tickets suspicious, even though airline pricing practices have changed so that it often makes more sense to book one-ways. Ultimately, it's important to know that even though it is your right, it's a good idea not to carry large amounts of cash with you at the airport. It's subject to confiscation, and if you're carrying more than $10,000 in cash out of the United States, you'll need to register that with the government, not just the country you're carrying it into, you guys. Well, look at this. They're seizing the cash. This is fantastic news, you guys, and it looks like everyone's going to have a little bit more money to spend on their loved ones this holiday season. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
Well, civil forfeiture is a bitch, and that's what that's called when they take your money without any charges being filed. I don't know. I just think, once again, here we are trying to find a way to stop and frisk black and brown people. So I think that this is a win for everybody. And why don't you give back what you're taking? Mm-hmm.
So unless you've been subject to civil forfeiture,
I have.
I have, and it's a very effective tool. In no small measure, again, because you have to prove, the burden of proof isn't on them, because you're not entitled to a paid criminal defense attorney, so you have to pay your way to prove that it's legitimate, and it's a very effective kick to the gonads that often runs concurrent with criminal prosecution, and it is part of the income-producing model of prohibition. I think it's absolutely criminal, and I think no matter how they roll this back, until they're yanking the fingernails out of the people who have presided over this practice for so long, it's not an adequate level of retribution. This has been a divesting of Americans in a way that, if we really peel it back, it doesn't really feel like it's due process in a representative democracy in a way that's actually fair. And what's happened in my area, as recently as the last handful of years, is that agencies have been sued under RICO, which was designed not as the dopest dad on the street, but as a set of laws to go after the mafia. And these executive branch enforcement agencies were sued under RICO for the way in which they went about asset forfeiture, and they folded like a lawn chair and settled for 7 figures. And so it's really state-sanctioned piracy, and it's incredibly unjust.
Fair enough. Any thoughts on this asset forfeiture, Jesse?
I couldn't have said it better myself. Yarrow just nailed it.
Yarrow nailed it. Look at that, Yarrow.
It is state-sponsored piracy. I guess I would say it's kind of crazy to me that you can't have any amount of money. I understand if you had $1 million in a briefcase, the possibility that is illegitimate, but that's not proof.
It's not against the law to own money, though.
Yeah, there's no probable cause. There's nothing there you need probable cause to actually say, hey, where's this money from? Why do you have it? And without that, you should be able to have whatever you want. It could be your grandma's under the bed money that she saved her whole life. Who knows what it is?
It's called mattress money, Jesse.
Yeah, exactly. So it just seems like a joke. And it's par for the course for American politics and policing.
And so that's the thing that we have to sort of, I think, revisit, which is that we often as a society say that there's a few rotten apples ruining the barrel, but that for the most part, the people who go into upholding this nation's laws are noble people who are motivated to be a net positive to their communities and are inspired to provide civil service. And we've said that so many times that it's actually become a lie that has become ingrained in the American psyche. And the truth is, we don't have omnidirectional accountability. There's a reason why the unions for these enforcement agencies pushed back vigorously in all states against body cams and a greater level of transparency and accountability. There's a reason why you don't hear the good apples ferreting out the bad apples. There's a reason why the Oakland Police Department was under federal receivership. Look at the Rough Riders. And so there is not a culture of accountability. There is not civilian review. But yet, if you look at the federal government, we see that the head of the military is a civilian, our president. And we believed that our military was best run with a civilian at the head of it. But if you look at local agencies, that's not the way it works. And so it's time for us to understand that some of the societal conflict that arose in the last 5 years around that lack of accountability, around the people who are dying at the hands of quote unquote well-intended organizations, that there is a lack of transparency, a lack of accountability. And this asset forfeiture has become an incentive for behavior that violates our civil rights and creates distrust between those that police communities and the communities that are being policed. And so I can only tell you that a large percentage disappeared on the way to the evidence locker the last time I was subject to this process. And we need to pay our civil servants better, but we also need to hold them accountable. And that accountability, we don't see systems yet in place that have created that accountability. And until we have that accountability, we're not going to have trust between those that are working to keep us safe and those that are being kept safe. And so this should not come as any surprise. This article is just yet another data point, and it's a sad data point. And if they don't go far enough to hold people accountable in those organizations for repatriating resources that were not the government's to begin with, this is a tax that has an exponential harm on those that are being taxed in this way.
I'm going to agree with everything you said, except for we need to pay our civil servants better. When we have cops on motorcycles in Beverly Hills making 350 racks a year, I think they're compensated pretty fairly for going out and harassing black and brown people. And yeah, I think they're overpaid for that.
Fair enough. And on that, we're going to go to a commercial and we're going to be right back.
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door. And then next door to that, they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
Right. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com.
Are you a business that's suffering from the hyperinflation that is plaguing America today? We have the solution for you. That's right. Patriot Business Financing. Head on over to www.patriotbfc.com and apply for a loan up to $2 million. Any state, any industry, even the cannabis industry, the CBD industry, as well as the industrial hemp fiber industry, secure up to $2 million today. And make sure that when you apply, you tell Paul you said hi from High at 9.
One is fire as fuck.
Speaking of fire as fuck.
It is so good.
We're back, and Yarrow is doing a paid advertisement for.
No, listen. My opinion is not for sale. I've been munching on the jerky. We were all lucky as pundits on this show to receive a gift pack.
Been munching on the jerky.
I wrote up my reviews of every single one because I can't help judging because I'm in that mindset. I sent those to you.
It was the one time you actually get to judge like actual product instead of hardware.
Yeah, how did you do it without hardware? Does the lack of cart make it difficult?
Listen, there was a couple flavors that were not my favorite, and then there were a couple that were like I would have eaten a 55-gallon drum of that habanero one that they did. I like the jerky. If I didn't, I would talk some shit. I don't care what anybody thinks about my opinion because it's not for sale. But that jerky and that habanero one, and I've got a little restaurant critic here at home who thinks he's the next Gordon Ramsay, and we scored them because it was great to explore all the different flavor options. And that one was just really, really yummy. So I'm glad that this show isn't advertising and promoting things that are mids. Straight up.
Of course, because, I'm all about high quality. You know what I'm saying, Yarrow? All about it. Speaking of which, we're going to roll right into you, Mr. Yarrow Kubrin, the man who still has to stand on a telephone book just to be as tall as myself. That's right. He's out there in the Golden Shire and specializes in cannabis real estate. That's right. It is none other than Mr. Yarrow Kubrin.
Jason, that's because you're cheating with that high heel on one side.
All right, whatever. Canned applause.
No one could hear Jenny Beth over the crowd, so it doesn't matter.
Good. That's too bad. Okay. Good morning, High at 9 News viewers. Thank you yet again for tuning in for another amazing Monday episode, getting teed up for Turkey Day. And before that, let me bring you something that's near and dear to my heart. Continuing updates regarding hemp and cannabis. So without further ado, I'm going to try to speak on this as quickly as possible since it's a little bit of a long article. So let me channel my mother's inner New Yorker and speed through it. Okay, hot off the hill from this weekend, Congress poised for another farm bill punt after Senate non-starter. House Republicans rejected a farm bill proposal by Senate Agricultural Committee Chair Debbie Stabenow from Michigan this week, increasing the likelihood that lawmakers will pass another one-year extension of the massive legislation by the end of the year rather than a new longer-term measure. A source in Speaker Mike Johnson's office confirmed this week that the GOP-controlled House plans to seek an extension of the 2018 Farm Bill, the last major version of the legislation signed into law, rather than pursuing a new bill after months of gridlock. The legislation, which has long underpinned the country's agricultural sector and food aid programs, is typically passed in 5-year increments, but lawmakers similarly punted on passing a new bill at the end of last year. Major bones of contention in inter-party talks surrounding the legislation include reference pricing, the subsidies paid to farmers when the prices of commodities fall below a certain threshold. GOP lawmakers are specifically seeking higher reference prices for cotton, peanuts, and rice, with the increase paid for by cuts to the Commodity Credit Corporation, which the Biden administration has used for climate-related discretionary funds. Democrats have exposed this move, as well as a GOP push to freeze the expansion of the foods covered by the Supplemental Nutrition and Assistance Program, SNAP. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries signaled Democrats would not budge on SNAP at a press conference Tuesday morning, saying, "We certainly will continue to protect nutritional assistance for Americans all across the country. That's in urban America, rural America, exurban America, the heartland of America, and small town America." Thank you, Jeffries, for letting us know about all the subcategories of America. That will be a priority for us, as it always been the case moving forward. A second source familiar with the GOP conference meeting confirmed to The Hill that Republican House members rejected the Stave Now text, which the source called not a serious proposal, after Senate Democrats walked away from negotiations, expressing frustration on the GOP side that Stave Now did not release a text until 20 days remained in the session. The source also pointed to the fact that Senate Democrats caucus was not uniting on it, citing pushback from Senator Raphael Warnock of Georgia on reference prices for the southeastern U.S. on Stave Now's text. The source confirmed that the House Agricultural Chair Glenn Thompson from Pennsylvania dismissed the Senate bill as a form of legacy protection for Stave Now, who is retiring from the Senate in January. Thompson's remark was first reported in Politico. The GOP-controlled House passed its Farm Bill text out of committee earlier this year, while Stave Now introduced text for the Senate version this week. Having won a trifecta in the November election, Republicans have considerably less incentive to pass a full new bill by year's end rather than passing another extension and introducing a broadly Republican-supported bill in the next Congress. It was widely reported in the weeks leading up to the House markup that Stave Now was calling Democratic members on the phone, urging them to vote against our bill, which still secured 4 Democratic votes, the source added. The GOP bill, the Farm, Food, and National Security Act of 2024, passed the Agricultural Committee 33-21 in May with the support of Democratic Representatives Yadira, blah, 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 Don Davis, Eric Sorsen. You don't fucking care how many of them were. The Hill has reached out to Stave Now's office for comment. Democrats could likely only exert meaningful leverage by threatening to outright block any stopgap measure and allow the current extension to expire. Jeffries signaled in his press conference, however, that some form of reauthorization would be a priority for the Democratic caucus during the lame duck session. It's our hope that we can find the common good necessary in order for to reauthorize a farm bill in a manner that meets the needs of everyday Americans, of farmers, particularly family-owned farmers, and that meets the needs of the health and food safety of the American people, he said. So, before I ask my other pundits on Monday's show what they think about this, let me just riff, ramble, and rant and tell you what I think. The Farm Bill is supposed to be passed every 5 years. If the last one was in 2018, we all can do this math on our hands, and we know that there should have been another one by 2023. We are rounding into 2025, and there are real issues that could be addressed in the Farm Bill, namely the disconnect and the lack of parity between intoxicating cannabinoids that come from hemp and intoxicating cannabinoids that currently come from cannabis. It is my feeling that cannabis is overregulated, hemp is underregulated, and that the lack of age-restricted access to intoxicating cannabinoids from hemp is causing many states to clamp down on hemp products in a way that I don't think actually supports the growth of the industry and the protection of consumers. That this didn't get done in 2023 and is being punted again gives me ample ammunition to talk shit about both sides of the political aisle. Yes, it's not fair for Republicans to punt it out until they have control of everything. And yet we still didn't find a bipartisan compromise in the last 2 years to be able to get something meaningful accomplished and to be able to move the football down the field to be able to have a better paradigm that serves custies and entrepreneurs. And so I say shame on the Senate and the House on both sides of the aisle, because what I think they're doing is being more partisan and obstructionistic than productive. And I think both of them share responsibility in that. This is Yarrow Kubrin, High at 9 News.
Oh, man, I just told you guys nothing was going to pass. Nothing. Everyone's all freaked out about the farm, this new version of the Farm Bill that they're talking about in the Senate. And this is great news.
Didn't do anything again.
Yeah, they did do something. They're just going to punt an extension. This is fantastic news. That's all that we need, just another extension. This is great. We don't need them to
say this is exactly what we want. We want them to punt this right now because we want the new HHS and DEA and FDA and all the rest that this new administration is going to do. It's going to be much in favor of cannabis.
Yep.
If we did this farm bill right now, I think that we'd get some bad effects, and we wouldn't have the opportunity to have the upset that that's going to be in our favor.
Yeah, because that Mary Miller amendment is currently in the version that they just recently proposed in the Senate that, thank goodness, is not going to get passed.
Yeah, there was some bad things in it. Yeah. So it's good.
Very
it's good
bad
that they're
things.
punting it right now.
Very bad things.
Speaking of upset, Yarrow's face tells me he has something to say in rebuttal to that.
Look, I mean, if I was going to take a real straight down the fairway view on this, I think the Democrats are on the right side of history in wanting to protect SNAP, which is around food stamps and food assistance. And we need to think about the Americans who aren't making ends meet and deserve to not live with nutritional deficiencies or going to bed hungry. And I am in favor of the Republican support of farmer subsidies because I think that farmers are a noble part of the backbone of our society.
That's true.
And when you're a farmer, Mother Nature's on your board of directors, whether you like it or not. And that's going to make for some bad years. And I don't know that that's fair for all of that risk to be borne on the backs of farmers. I also didn't necessarily agree with the Democratic side where Jeffrey said, well, for family farms, because it is true that there's been consolidation and corporatization of farms. But guess what? I still need a fucking kiwi at the store. So I don't necessarily think the corporate structure of farmers as important as supporting American farming in general. So I don't think that kicking the can down the road until we have a consolidation of power in all three branches of the by the Republican Party speaks to the fact that for the last 2 years it still hadn't gotten done, and that there's culpability on both sides because the definition of compromise is no one's happy. And I would have been happier with no one being happy and having something that came out in 2023 than the fact that this feels like it's become a partisan football.
Well, the fact that you're unhappy
calm down because
go ahead,
Jason
Jenny.
needs to sell some gummies first, okay? So let Jason get some gummies off first, and then let's revise the farm bill.
We're here to sell some gummies and D9 gummy, America's new number one D9 gummy line. Yarrow,
in a perfect
stop
world,
being such a hater.
Intoxicating hemp-derived cannabinoids are regulated in a way that is not as stringent and as expensive as cannabis, but at least provides a paradigm that protects minors from age-restricted products.
We have an age gap on our website.
And provides some measure of supply chain safety. I don't think that puts D9 out of the ballpark. I just think that in the absence of that, it creates ambiguity in an industry that could use guidance and have some guardrails, and it allows the federal government to continue to foist the obligation to state governments to try to figure out this conundrum. And what we've seen Newsom do with his ban on hemp-derived products in California,
which is totally unenforceable.
It is a massive setback, and it's creating a new trap. It's creating new prohibition. And so I think the federal government has an obligation to do better and to do quicker.
Yarrow, I have a question for you. When you go bowling, do you use the buddy bumpers? Because you're a very strong advocate for these guardrails and things.
He also uses a little ramp that you
I mean, you know, we're not obligated to not swear on this show. So I mean, there are a variety of ways I can tell you to go get fucked. But the truth is, bowling is a lot of fun. I don't use the guardrails.
You don't?
No, I don't.
Interesting. You're for guardrails in some situations, but not all situations. Interesting.
Not for bowling. One of the things that I'm not really great at is getting it where it spins down the and then it spins and it hits that first pin.
It's all about that flick of the wrist.
Down the thing. Yeah, the spin thing I can't do. And given your political affiliations, I know you're probably better at the spin.
I'm a master of the spin.
Master of the spin. When I'm bowling, I just go straight down it. I try to hit that pin. I usually get about 9 out of whatever.
So you're like a wrecking ball. You're like a wrecking ball.
Yeah.
Yarrow's afraid of the strike.
He is.
You better thank a union member. I'm sorry.
Boy. Oh boy. And on that, we're going to roll into our final commercial, and we're going to be right back. Are you all ready for America's new number one D9 gummy line? That's right. We are bringing to you Parody Gummy. These vegan gummies are manufactured in a safe harbor facility, so you know they're gonna be clean and safe, and they're not gonna give you any of the runaround. Coming in, we have 3 amazing flavors for you. We have the Raspberry Riots. Also, we have the Sleepy Joes if you need something to help you sleep at night. And if you're feeling like raging and having a party time, that's right, we have the Pineapple Bad Hombre. If you're feeling like a bad hombre, make sure you head over to www.parodygummy.com and secure your bag today.
Keep going.
And we are back. That's right. We're going to be dropping some bombs, Yarrow. Yes, indeed. And speaking of dropping bombs, that's right. It's Miss Jenny Beth Dills. She has a fast lane story to talk about the living life in the fast lane. She's the founder of Kind Cannabis and of Justice Serve, a 501c3. That is to help people that have been speeding in the fast lane. That's right. It is none other than Miss Jenny Beth Dills.
I swear to God, Jason, if I get up onto the website request for fucking super speeder tickets, I'm going to be so pissed at you. Please don't hit me up unless you've gone to jail for a not-violent cannabis offense and a real one. But happy to help you.
But they could have got pulled over for speeding, and then everything else happened because of that. Just saying, it's part of living in the fast lane, Jenny.
Got you. All right. Thanks, Jason. That was very fucking helpful.
Anytime.
Okay, so I have a Karen story. Super Karen. Formula One drivers preparing for the Las Vegas Grand Prix have raised an unexpected concern: the smell of marijuana. With recreational use and legal in Nevada, the odor has been prevalent near the track, prompting drivers to joke about the impact. Williams driver Franco Colapinto quipped, "If they dope test us now, I think we'll all test positive." Red Bull's Max Verstappen added humor, saying, "I was quite high in the car. It's not ideal while driving." Meanwhile, teammate Sergio Perez said he's tired of it already due to the overwhelming smell. Now, Sergio, I don't think was kidding, because Sergio sounds like he's actually complaining. So boo on you, Sergio. While marijuana is legal in Nevada, public indoor smoking is prohibited, which may explain why such concerns didn't arise during events like the Super Bowl at Allegiant Stadium. However, with F1's open air setup, drivers and fans alike are getting an unfiltered experience of Las Vegas's perhaps a little more than they bargained for. The race continues Saturday night, with Verstappen chasing his 4th consecutive series title. So at least that guy has a sense of humor, but Sergio Perez, boo on you. I think that we're missing the biggest issue and inconvenience in Vegas, which is that they shut down all this fucking traffic once a year for this stupid fucking race so they can complain about the smell of cannabis. And I love Formula One. I love cars. I'm so cool with that. But if you live in a certain apartment complex that is in the middle of Las Vegas, you cannot get in nor out of your fucking home because these guys are inconveniencing you. So boo on you. I don't care about your opinions on the cannabis smell. Find something else to complain about, like the drunk guy that might have thrown up in your cockpit. Sending it back to you guys.
Man. Okay. So here's what I don't understand.
The guy that can't reach the pedals.
Booster seats notwithstanding, here's what I don't understand. These people are highly paid competitors. At the end of the day, they are entertainers, but they compete in an environment filled with fuel fumes and volatile organic compounds and petroleum products. I mean, they are a walking Prop 65 warning label for all things unhealthy. They're already getting cancer, huffing all them those fumes coming out the exhaust pipe, and they're worried about a little bit of the odor wafting from cannabis. I mean, it's a little sad to me that they felt the need to vocalize this minor discomfort. And if you're whizzing around a track at 165 miles an hour, how are you smelling secondhand smoke? I do not get that. That don't make any sense to me.
Well, if it's loud and in the crowd, you know what I'm saying, Yarrow?
Oh, just because you're smoking the finest weed in the world doesn't mean somebody going by in a McLaren at 165 is going to smell.
Oh, they were definitely smelling what I be putting out there. That's for sure.
We don't need to talk about your flatulence, Jason. This is a morning show.
Whoa, easy there. Pause. Whoa.
So why wine, right? Like, there's a lot of vices in Vegas, and of the vices, like, this is pretty low. I don't know. It feels a little tired.
How do we know that it wasn't just some new terp-infused gasoline that they were trying out that burns faster?
The gaseous gas.
Exactly. that full
this
octane.
Just sounds to me like leftover rhetoric, like from people thinking that you can get a contact high from being around weed, and it's just something that's left over that people still believe. There are people who are not weed smokers believe that if you smell weed, you could get high.
Well, Jesse, there's even weed smokers that believe we can get high. This topic came up when I was doing the American Cholo podcast, and you can check out that episode. And I actually went into the whole thing of how contact highs are not real and they don't exist, and it's total bullshit, reefer madness.
I think these people are compensated DeSantis advisors who are paid to whine as publicly as possible.
Well, I love it.
Somehow this conversation got blown up clearly, and it was a big deal. But then if you chase this story a little bit, there were 2 F1 drivers that made pretty serious jokes about it, and they were quoted as kind of being serious, but they're not being serious.
So you mean
one guy was like, I don't think anyone's gonna pass their drug test this weekend, and he was clearly being tongue in cheek, like that's not gonna happen.
No,
he was making fun of everybody else.
That's why I reported it like that, because Franco and Max were both making jokes, right? So like they made jokes, but then here comes Sergio Kill the Party Perez talking about, I'm sick of it already. It's overwhelming. That guy was complaining. The first 2 guys, funny. The third guy, damn it.
It's always the third guy that ruins the parade, huh, Jenny?
A puppy.
I mean,
I think this says something about professional sports. I mean, you are taught that drug testing is really important. And this whole paradigm of if you're around weed and if you breathe some of it, you could maybe not pass your drug test. That's a real conversation that happens in professional sports. And it's sad that kind of BS is still talked about in that way, that there's not education in our country about how these things work.
I mean, Sergio's irrelevant. When I think of F1, I don't think of racing. I think of genetics. So he can just take his little pie hole and go whine someplace else. He's a highly compensated entertainer who gets to steer a steering wheel for a living. Cry me a river if you got to smell a little weed while you're in Nevada.
Are you jealous, Yarrow?
No, not at all.
And all the breeders think we're talking about seeds when we mention F1.
That's right.
Right. Well, that's because they don't go and do their due diligence and do their work and stabilize genetics. So yeah, we're getting a lot of F1s. Okay.
A lot of F1s. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, man, oh man, oh man. This was a great story, Jenny Beth. I love this Karen talk.
What, dude? Jeremy Craney cracks me up. Yarrow.
He is funny.
Yarrow, you got to show him your coochie one day.
Oh boy.
I don't have, but I'm willing to sell links to your OnlyFans. I mean, what do you want me to say to that? Okay.
I don't have an OnlyFans. I want you to fight back, Yarrow. I want you to fight back.
Yeah, I mean,
to him, not me.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's a good distinction. I mean, the only pocket I'd have is if I was reincarnated.
It's a Polly pocket. It's a Polly pocket. The only pocket you have, Yarrow, because she's about the same height as you.
The chat is definitely one of the funnest things about this show. Reading it, responding to it, the back and forth. It's great.
So I had a money story for my first story, and I have a final money story for you guys to close out the day on. Are you guys ready for this?
Ready.
All right. All right.
Steve Blazingham, my God.
Steve's the man. Shout out Steve. All right, you guys. Well, TD Bank was fined $3 billion in a historic money laundering settlement, you guys. That's right. TD Bank, one of Canada's biggest lenders, has agreed to pay more than $3 billion and pleaded guilty to criminal charges in the United States after allowing drug cartels and other criminals to transfer hundreds of millions of dollars in illicit funds. Prosecutors said the bank operated with inadequate guards against money laundering for nearly a decade, failing to act even when staff flagged obvious cases of abuse, such as a customer making daily deposits of $1 million in cash. The lender is now facing restrictions on its growth in the United States, as well as the biggest fine ever under anti-money laundering laws, you guys. The chief executive of TD Bank said the bank was taking, in quotes, full responsibility for its failures. Bharat Masrani said the bank had the financial strength to weather the situation and would be making the investments, changes, and enhancements required to deliver on our commitments, he says. The bank said it would be a multi-year process, but it had already taken some steps to overhaul its anti-money laundering program, adding more than 700 new staff specialized in this issue. In a quote, they say, "This is a difficult chapter in our bank's history. These failures took place on my watch as CEO, and I apologize to all our stakeholders," he said on Thursday. Mr. Mansorini announced last month that he would retire in April of 2025 after a decade at the bank's helm, and TD Bank is the largest lender in U.S. history to plead guilty to failures under the Bank Secrecy Act and the first to plead guilty to conspiracy to commit money laundering. The U.S. Justice Department said the growth restriction its U.S. retail business faces under its agreement with regulators is unusual and reserved for severe cases of wrongdoing, such as the fake account fraud uncovered at Wells Fargo several years ago. Attorney General Merrick Garland said the bank was cooperating with the investigation and further individual prosecutions were expected. In a quote, "By making its services convenient for criminals, TD Bank became one," he said at a press conference announcing the changes. U.S. officials said the bank that the bank, the 10th largest in the U.S., had, in quotes, starved its compliance programs of investments even as it grew. By 2018, it failed to monitor more than 90% of the transactions on this network activity, worth more than 18 TN. And prosecutors said at a press conference that the gaps in compliance were so well known internally that staff joked that the bank's motto is, in quotes, "America's most convenient bank." That's cute. Was marketed towards criminals, they said. Officials said one customer used TD Bank to launder more than $470 million in drug proceeds and making large cash deposits and bribing staff with gift cards. The scheme allowed payments from fentanyl users to flow back to drug networks in Mexico and China, officials said. And officials said another scheme involved participation of 5 bank staff who helped to issue dozens of ATM cards, facilitating the transfer of $39 million in illicit funds to Colombia. And TD is the 6th largest bank in North America by assets and serves over 275.5 million customers around the world. The settlement announced on Thursday will include a period of outside monitoring, and the penalties include $1.8 billion to the Justice Department and $1.3 billion to the Treasury Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, as well as payments to other regulators, including the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency and Federal Reserve. And shares plunged more than 5% on this news, you guys. Man, oh man, oh man. TD Ameritrade, you guys, busted by the feds for money laundering for the cartels. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. And how hard is it to get a bank account nowadays for cannabis companies, and you have this happening? How crazy is this?
Wow, TD Ameritrade. Gotcha, bitch.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Don't feel bad for them.
No.
I love that they said that it's going to take some time to make these changes. Like, okay, well then why are you operating while it's taking time? Why don't you put all your resources into fixing this shit? Because I don't know, if we were like, oh, Mr. DCC man, I realize I got to stop doing this, but it's going to take me some time. Just be patient. We would lose our license.
That is very true, Jenny Beth. Very, very true. Very, very, very
This
true.
was in Canada, right?
Well, this is Canada and the United States. It was the U.S. is the one that did the prosecution. But I think TD Bank is a Canadian bank. Is like their home base is Canada.
I mean, here's the thing, right? If your stock price only goes 5% down when you get a $3 billion fine and nobody goes to jail, then you got a wrist slap. That's what you got. You got a wrist slap. Nobody went to jail. They said that 90% of $18 trillion in transactions were not monitored. And nobody's going to jail. And meanwhile, we're locking up people at an unprecedented rate for nickel and dime crimes.
They said more arrests will be coming, though, Yarrow.
Blah, 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 blah. This is a bank that is likely too big to fail, okay? It says that they are the 6th largest bank in the United States. I don't hear anybody having to do time. They paid their way out of this, which is what makes people angry in this country when they feel like there are 2 tiers of opportunity, consequence, and responsibility. If they really cared, they would have taken at least a few scalps. I don't hear any scalps being included in this, and yet $18 trillion in transactions were not monitored? Are you kidding me? I'm not upset at the bank for trying it. I'm upset at the Justice Department for thinking all they needed to do was a wrist slap with a fine, because the message that it sends is, if you do this times 90% times 18 trillion, you will pay $3 billion. Your stock might go down by a little bit. You can do a mea culpa and talk about wanting to do better. And it's back to business as usual. That's the message it sends to Wall Street, in my opinion.
Business as usual, Yarrow. Business as usual. I agree.
And let me just disclaim this. I make bank training content for banks that have cannabis banking programs. And I've been doing that NDA'd up to my eyeballs since 2018 in no small measure, because I fought a cannabis banking case by the way I tried to transparently and overtly bank cannabis cash back in 2009 and 2010. So this is something that's near and dear to my heart.
You have priors, basically, is what you're telling us.
I'm probably the only person who has been convicted of felony cannabis money laundering by the way in which I was ill-advised by my civil attorney and tried to transparently bank cannabis cash with full transparency to the bank I was doing business with. So I do feel extra passionate that financial institutions and our system needs to be both fair, transparent, and equitable to all stakeholders. And I got a felony for that and had to go sit down. These people did it to the tune of 90% times 18 trillion with no oversight, and they're just paying their way out of that? How is that consistent with our concept of what's accountability under the American justice system?
If you had billions of dollars, they'd let you pay your way out to Yarrow, to be fair. And your attorney sucks. I got some good ones for you if you need a better one.
Yeah, Yarrow, we have
I don't
good
need
attorneys.
any more lawyers anymore.
I'm going to try something out real quick. I'm not sure what's going to happen. Adam is adding a whole bunch of little buttons to this thing. I'm going to see what this does.
Dare you?
Oh, it
Don't
does
steal
work.
my shit,
Yes,
Yarrow.
it does. It worked. Did you guys hear that?
No.
Dare you?
Oh, yeah,
Jenny, you didn't even know that worked
Didn't
until
hear
I
anything.
showed you, okay?
Yeah, but it's mine and I'm cuter when I do it.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's mine now and I'm cuter when I do it.
That was cute.
Mine.
That was cute, you guys.
Yeah.
And Jesse, just so you know, even though you didn't hear it, the audience heard it.
The audience heard it?
Yeah, the audience heard it. You didn't hear it.
Oh, yeah, because we don't hear the live show go out.
You don't hear the live show go out. Yes.
Someone's pissing my dog off.
Well, nonetheless, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big thank you to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst. What's that?
Sorry.
Huge thank you to Catalyst for always helping us keeping the lights on over here. And thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. That's right. Weed for the people, Yarrow. You're so right. Thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do all this. And thank you to Cloud Media Partners, Adam out in the metaverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.